Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Community Tales, a trip around the LOTR LCG podcast community and seeing what everybody is producing for us to consume. And I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about community stuff.
I like that you changed that. So Ted, this is Ted's first time doing a standard episode of Community Tales. So Ted, you're still kind of new at some of this stuff. So it's good to have you aboard doing all the things that we do here. So
yeah, that sounds great. Let's jump into it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's first thank our Patreons. This is our Patreon show. So every month we put this show out for all the people who support us. And if anybody wants to support us, you can jump on patreon.com/cardtalk2018 and you will be able to give any amount of money and we will use it to help make the show awesomer. More awesome, more awesomer.
More awesomer. I think that's about right.
Yeah. And so thank you to the patrons we have now. So this show is for you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. We very much appreciate the support, and yeah, we'll take the support we get and pay it forward essentially as best we can.
That's exactly right. So Grant, what have you been doing the past? I guess we have to catch up on 2 months of community stuff because Ted stole the show last month with Gen Con. Kind of spur of the moment, but nonetheless still did it. But Grant, what have you been doing lately?
Well, I was off work ill, so I didn't really get much done in the terms of the month before last. And then this month, I've just been working to catch up.
Yeah, that work thing. Work gets in the way of LOTR all the time for me.
Yeah. But I've been carrying on with the Ancient Madams with Samuel, and we've got a fair few things done and underway.
Okay, that's good. How about you, Ted? What LOTR stuff have you been doing? What have you been playing? What scenarios have been creeping onto your table?
Well, something you mentioned before we started off air is I'm on kind of like the Gen Con hangover since I was just there.
Right.
It's such a huge consumption of just not only LOTR, but then all things board games and right. Some of the other games I play competitively. So I've been like sorting through all the new stuff. A lot of new content came out recently for multiple games. So it's just kind of like enjoying all of those new titles that have come out.
Yeah, and you play. Well, we know the community knows you play X-Wing, but what else do you? What are some of your other loves of games here?
Oh, sure. FFG's also got a pretty good line of Arkham series games, mm-hmm. And at Gen Con they also announced a new Arkham game called Final Hour, and it's a much simpler, shorter version compared to the other titles. You usually play in less than an hour, like 30 to 45 minutes.
Oh wow!
And it was kind of interesting because they literally just surprised everyone with a new board game. There was nothing about it.
Wow.
They didn't spoil it or hint at a new game. They're like, by the way, guys, here's a new game that's done and ready to sell. So
there was no like play testers saying, "Hey, can't wait for the new game to come out" or anything like that, right?
Yeah, it was. They kept the whole thing a secret, which was surprising. But I've been enjoying that title as well.
Is that a single player title or?
It's a single to 4. And okay. A lot of FFG's games are kind of going in that direction. I think they're trying to open it up to capture the people that do play solo,
right.
But then still be able to expand it to normal board game groups of 4 people.
Got it. That whole solo thing is amazing, right? Well, solo expandable to 4, like that's That's the whole LOTR draw for so many people. Like
Yeah.
I think 60% of the people play solo. This game. So
I'd be real interested in a poll to see statistically. Something I have been doing, actually, a community topic that I just recalled.
Oh.
When I was at Gen Con, I had the experience to, whenever I'm there, I usually get to play someone's deck that's not mine for LOTR.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Like, if you go to a con, make sure you grab somebody else's deck and play with it. You told me that, and I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to.
Yeah. So I've sort of expanded that, and I needed to build some new decks with the new cards. And I was kind of like, all right, wow, there's so many things I want to do. There's heroes from the last cycle that came out that I haven't put on the table. Like Dane Ironfoot and Thranduil. Haven't put those guys on the table.
It's funny that there's two of those. Those are the two that I've put on the table the most.
And so the community resource I started using was I started to look up decks on RingsDB.
Right.
And I ended up putting together I have a friend who plays. I put together a version of his deck called Fat Stacks, which uses it's a 75 card deck.
I was going to say this sounds right up my alley. A lot of cards.
It's a 75 card deck with Dane Ironfoot, Gandalf, and Gildor and Glorian.
Oh, then the hero from the 2-player or from the limited edition starter.
Yes,
right.
Yes. And the second deck is modeled after your deck, Slippery Sylvans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the Randall, Galadriel, and Celeborn. Right, that's your lineup.
That's it.
So
that's it.
I ended up putting a deck together, and I said, you know what? I actually want to build Slippery Sylvans. Like, this looks familiar. So I looked up yours, and I made a couple of changes because mine is going to be played 2-player.
Right.
So I swapped out like 1 or 2 of the cards for just different Sylvan themed cards.
Right.
But I essentially have versions of Fat Stacks and my own version of Slippery Sylvans built.
That's awesome.
So I've really, really been enjoying playing like decks that aren't fully mine. It's been really interesting. I don't know if you guys do that at all.
I don't usually net deck. Net decking isn't something that
or net decking, as it's commonly called.
Yeah, I don't know about Grant, but net decking isn't something that I do. What about you, Grant?
Take a look. If I'm struggling with a deck build and I know what heroes I want to use, I'll see what other people have done and I'll adapt it to my own style of gameplay. I don't just take a deck and run with somebody else's. I'll alter it so that it's more unique to me.
Yeah, so you make a deck your own. You look it up and then add a little bit to.
Like I say, if I'm struggling with building a deck, then yeah.
Yeah.
And that, you know what, Grant? Then you sound that's exactly what I do. Is I'm like, well, I want to use Dane, and then okay, I couldn't figure it out, so I said, what are other people doing with it? So that's exactly how I started. I said I want to use Thranduil. How do other people do it?
Right. For some reason, it's not that I oppose doing that. It's just that I want to try to see if I can figure it out first. And then once I think I have it figured out, then I will try to then I'll post it and look up what other people are doing. So, and then that's where it goes. So I used Dine, the Spirit Dine with Gandalf and Glowin, and that way I'm generating a lot of money and I'm discarding stuff and I'm doing all sorts of neat things. I called that deck the Dine and the Discard. And so it's like a 60 card deck. So
okay, that one came up too. Actually, I saw that.
Right.
But I was reading the description of the tag online. Fat Stacks is by Mr. Space Bear, and I said, "Oh, it's actually my friend."
Yeah, there you go.
My friend, and I read through it, and his first sentence, the deck description is, "This is my favorite deck of all time."
Okay, well,
I said, okay,
you have to go with that one.
I said, I gotta try it because I would never build like this 75 card dwarf mining deck.
No,
like I just would I just would never think to do that. It's not usually how I build decks. So I did what Grant did and sort of adopted it. I said, I think there's some, different choices that I'd prefer to do. But I'd be real curious too. Also, like how would the community thinks on net decking? I guess is maybe the topic.
We should put up a poll.
Yeah, maybe get some
Do
thoughts.
you net deck? Yes, no,
Yeah.
why? Maybe we can talk to our friends at Cardboard of the Rings, and that can be one of their polls that they put up. Save us the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chad, you got a job for us. No, wait. Brad, the Twitter guy, Brad.
Yeah. Who I also bumped into at Gen Con, and I found out he lives not too far from I do. We're locals essentially. I said, gosh. I had no idea that you're like so close.
It's like that part of Minnesota is the gaming mecca of the world. You guys should all just form your own little fantasy flight cult up there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you have by
Don't give them any ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but you guys will. Okay, so it sounds like Grant will look up decks and adapt them, but David, you haven't really tried that at all.
No, I typically try to make my own decks, and then afterwards, like I said, then I'll see what other people are doing.
Okay.
I just put Haldan in a deck for the first time. So you said you had a couple of heroes that you haven't played, and so I just put Haldan in a deck for the first time, but I put him in with Spirit Glorfindel and Smeagol hero. And so I was able to get Smeagol on the table and just do location control, draw cards out the wazoo, and I'm pretty confident that I can draw my entire deck in 10 rounds. It's wild.
Yeah, that's a quite potent combo. That sounds like, because you're consistently going to locations, and then you're getting the card draw from Smeagol, and then from attachments from Haldan.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and it all starts in secrecy, so you can dark knowledge from the get go. Or no, not dark knowledge. You can resourceful from the get go to get the. It's just wild, because then you can use Master of the Forge to dig all those attachments out. So this is my new hotness that I've been playing around with.
Okay, and that is primarily geared for solo.
Yeah, because although news, I did actually get together with my buddy last night, and we beat Journey to the Crossroads for the first time. So I'll play all the scenarios as they come in. I've been playing the new box out of my mind. I'll put it on the table and play it with every deck that I have, and just keep playing. But I haven't played the campaign through at all because I want to play it with my buddy. So, so we got to Journey to the Crossroads, and we beat it with three enemies underneath the Black Gate, which is probably not good, but not horrible.
No, that's actually, I think that's good for that scenario from what I recall from it.
Yeah, and then we tried to play Shelob 3 times, and we just couldn't do it. The first time we didn't understand what the mechanic was because we kind of went in blind, and so we were like, well, we'll just put another resource on Shelob. So he was playing he was playing mono tactics, and we had 11 resources on Shelob, and he had 43 threat by the time that happened, and we just couldn't do anything with it. And then
Grant, do you post any of your decks online on RingsDB? Do you post any of your deck lists?
I've posted some. None of them are quite. None of them are actually up to scratch for being used. They're just preliminaries that I've put out as I was trying them out.
Okay.
But yeah, they're on there.
You have some public decks posted?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to look up. I'm really curious to look up some of yours too, because I got back and I needed to build decks, and so I kind of like, well, I like playing other people's decks. It gives you new perspective. So I said, why not just do that? Try a couple.
So to get a little bit into this, I posted on, and Ted and Grant, this is directed completely towards you, in terms of this Haldan Gollum Spirit Glorfindel deck that I put together. How I posted online a question: do you use Daron's runes or drinking song? Both or neither, right? And so this sparked a huge debate in the community between Chris Stanford, who is one of the probably one of the best and most calculated players in the game, and Matt Duckworth, who is one of the most experienced players in the game. And they started talking about Daron's runes. Chris is calculating, and Matt is talking about the feel of the card, so it's like two people going at it. So in this deck, because I'm drawing cards so much, because I'm drawing with Haldan and I'm drawing with Smeagol when do I need to run Daron's runes or drinking song? A lot of people were like, if it's lore, run both. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Great. Go ahead, Grant. If you have thoughts, I have. Go ahead.
It depends. I mean, if you've got access to a unique hobbit, I'd run both. If you don't, I'd just say run Daron's runes personally. Save the deck slot for something else from the drinking song.
Should you always run Daron's runes?
It's just a personal preference for me. You can, instead of it gets rid of a duplicate. If you've got like duplicate uniques in your hand, it allows you to thin your hand a bit. It's just a personal preference. Not everybody thinks the way I do, so it's just down to taste.
Well, so far I'm agreeing. Maybe am I just like an American version of Grant? Because I think very similar. I don't know. He's just the English version of me. I don't know. Yeah, Daron's runes, I would say, really helps with duplicate. If you have a lot of unique cards, it's great for that. Or if you have if you have a deck that like runs Steward and you like really want to dig for it, it helps you get to it faster if you don't have it, and then dump duplicates when you do. Drinking Song will also, do the same thing. If you have 6 cards in your hand and you Drinking Song even without a Hobbit, I mean you're getting new chances to draw that card. But I would say it depends on the deck because Drinking Song throws your whole hand away. And you might, you could have...
You get those cards back. They shuffle it. It shuffles it into the deck.
Right. But, so since you run Spirit, right? If you have... Let's say you have 4... Let's say you have a 5-card hand, and 4 of them are unique duplicates, right? They're like, whatever. They're
sure.
Unique cards you already have on the table, whatever they are.
Right.
All that stuff. The last card is a Test of Will. And then you pick up Drinking Song.
Right.
Are you willing to throw away your Test of Will to get 5 new cards, one of which might be Test of Will? Now, you'll get more tools, right? You'll get cards you can actually play as opposed to just dead cards.
Right.
But you now will no longer have that blanket. You risk... What would you do?
Yeah, I think that I would still Drinking Song. It depends on where you are in the game. Because,
in the game?
Because
sure.
if you are at a place where you feel like everything is good and you're kind of at the near the end of the game and you've seen a lot of the cards and you know what the treacheries are and what the what the when revealed effects are. I don't know. I'm tempted to not run Daron's runes because I'm able to dig anyways, but it seems so counterintuitive to me to not run Daron's runes because it just replaces itself, right? Like you play it and you draw another card. You actually get to choose what the next card is. So
I would say that it's just really like every card in the game. It's at I don't think either of them is a staple. There's definitely I've made lower decks with those cards not being in them very easily.
Right. Well, Drinking Song is new, so it may not have found its way into a lot of those decks.
Yeah, but if I have access to lore and a unique Hobbit, Drinking Song I think is going to start making its way into a lot of my decks.
Well, that's it. It's down to personal preference in the deck type you're running.
And right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
I mean,
this is the debate about 50 cards or not. Ted just talked about that 75 card deck. Like if I'm able to draw through my deck in 10 turns, no matter what,
Yeah,
like,
honestly,
why not go up to 60 or 70 cards? I get it, consistency. Like I know all the arguments, but like there's way more than that. There's way more than 50 cards of attachments out there. Like
Right.
3 copies each, or like. And so, why
and maybe
not?
put in some extra more toolboxy cards, right? Like
Yeah.
extra threat reduction or extra or
Right.
condition removal, right? Like something like that.
Right, you get a couple copies of Elrond, or like something, and
Yeah,
with you're drawing so many cards, you may not. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say it comes down to how many unique cards are in the deck, and in your case, because you're drawing so many cards, I probably wouldn't have either card in that deck. To be honest, I would save them all for an attachment, because an attachment that attaches to a location with Halden is a Dayron's Runes. Like it's a card that is gonna replace itself.
Right. And some of those attachments are amazing. You play some of those guarded cards, and then you play like Put Off Pursuit, where you exchange the enemy for a location. Like, it's great.
Yeah, I have a Halden deck together, but I think Put Off Pursuit is going to have to get thrown in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's
test it out.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those interesting things that came up. So, well, should we take a little trip around the community and see what has been going on for the past couple months? We're revisiting Bilbo, Tactics Bilbo, or we just did in the last episode, so that we could start talking about guarded cards. One of our viewers, Christian, who has been getting mega shout outs from us, only because I want to make sure that he gets credit for the idea. He wanted us to review the guarded cards and talk about them, and get some more opinion about them. So we decided to revisit Tactics Bilbo, and then this month we're going to be releasing all the tactics cards, yeah. We're going to be releasing all the guarded cards. So there's 7 guarded cards plus the King's Return, which is the leadership event that digs for it. So that'll be exciting. So if you're interested in guarded cards and what we think about those, that's what Card Talk is going to have in for it for this month. And so as we travel around some of the other places, real quick, I know that the Facebook group is up to like 2,700 members. It's huge.
I see new people. I see a lot of posts that say, "Hey, I'm a new player looking for advice on this." I've seen that post come up a lot recently.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah, there's a ton of new players hitting. So anybody listening to this episode, make sure you welcome all the new players and you treat them as awesomely as you treated everybody in the community, and I'm sure they'll stick with the game. The Reddit community. Now, this is an interesting thing. So, and Grant and Ted, I don't think I talked to you before this about this, but in the Reddit community, which is r/LOTR/LCG, and I don't know if either of you are on Reddit or not, but somebody posted a set of rhymes, and the poem is spoilers for the cards that are coming out in the next cycle. So maybe like one of the play testers got permission to post cryptic messages, or maybe they just went rogue and started about this, because one of them refers to Tom Bombadil, which was spoiled for the first AP, coming out. And so I thought it was interesting to talk about this a little bit.
Would you care to regale us with one of these poems, David?
Well, let's
in as token-esque fashion as you can.
So that it starts off, it says, "Ask not who I am, but I have seen the cards that will soon set the scene, but be aware that those that read on, for if you want no spoilers, be gone. Though cryptic, these messages contain a peek into the future of this wonderful game. So, I mean, it comes out and it says, hey, listen, here we are, right? And then it says, in a reflection, two faces I saw, both unique, but features identical. One of a higher power, the other not yet achieving its prime, but both in play at the same time. Yet this card between them split their soul, for they can never be under the same player's control. And so in the forums, there's been some people that have thought that it was Eladan and Elrohir, but those twins could be, you want to play them. Like, that was the whole thing, is you could play them. And so I'm really interested in the Tolkien lore where there's identical twins.
It's Gollum.
Oh, is that what you think it is? No, but they can never be under the same player's control.
It's a flip of the card, so both are in play at the same time.
Both in play at the same time.
I
agree.
Grant, I think that's I think you hit on the head. I was not going to guess that, but I think you're right.
Yep. I can agree with that.
Well,
Some people
can never be under the same player's control.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. They can never be under the same player's control. Okay. That's okay. So that's the first one, and then the second one says what?
Well, that's my thought anyway. I may be wrong, but
no, I think you're right.
That's your thought, but we both agree with it.
Yeah. Right. Done with that. Okay. It says, in a dream, I saw the spirit of Gondor return through a princess from the sea whose heart had yearned for her husband across the mountains, riding in a sea of green together with allies rarely seen. Those forgotten, disregarded folks thrown into binders or placed between bike spokes, Ted. Mm-hmm. Yet through her power, these allies you more easily will fetch, a daughter to her father with an ability to match. So the only daughter that I know of, there's only two female characters, and that's Éowyn and Galadriel, right? And so Galadriel, her dad is Finarfin or Fingolfin or one of those guys. So, I mean, I don't think that they're going to put him. So is Éowyn coming out as an ally or as a new hero to be able to? Oh, but it's the spirit of Gondor returned.
Yeah, it also talks about a husband. I don't know if
she
was
but
wed
so
in the lore.
Éowyn, didn't we talk about this with Matt? Didn't Éowyn marry Faramir?
I don't know if that actually happened or not in the books. I don't know. I don't remember.
It was led to in the books.
It was,
I'm not sure if it actually happened, but I know it was said. It was hinted at in the books.
And I would assume that husband across the mountains riding in a sea of green would talk about being lore, like some sort of lore something or other.
Or maybe it's a literal sense in the fact that it's a distance rather than actually the type of card we're going to get.
Yeah,
I'm more curious, just really honestly, who posted these.
I know, yeah, but it says, "Don't ask my name. Ask not who I am."
Yeah,
I know. It's some guy who's trolling the whole community. I mean, this basically just blew up in the chat on Discord, which is always good. If you want to join the Discord chat, you can go discord.me/COTR. But I think that this is going to be. Oh, it says through a princess from the sea whose heart had yearned.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's actually more to do with Éowyn.
Could it be Arwen?
That's the one, Arwen. Arwen and Aragorn.
And so, because a daughter to her father with an ability to match.
Yeah.
So is that going to be is that Arwen and Elrond?
Yeah.
Is there going to be a new Elrond hero?
I'm not sure if it's going to be Elrond, but the part here, sees the spirit of Gondor returned. When Arwen was riding to the Grey Havens to get on the boat, she had a vision of her son in Aragorn. So maybe it's relating to a new version of Aragorn or a new version of Arwen.
Right.
And giving her an ability like Elrond.
Yeah, like Hero Elrond, the one that Hero Elrond, which allows you to pay for allies of any sphere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just together with allies rarely seen.
Right.
Because I mean, people play ally Arwen and they play ally Elrond, but the heroes are pretty favorited.
Right. But it says that they're going to fetch those heroes, so it's going to be a fetch card. So it would make sense to be somebody like that. So I think it would be Arwen. That's my guess. Okay, should we go through them all?
Yeah, I'm really curious now to read the rest.
Okay, let's.
There's
go
1,
through.
2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's 6 more to go.
6 more to go. Okay, told through the long years, these tales I've heard of a mission to save a very large bird. But now on the horizon, a pair of wings I saw, and I heard the sound of an eagle, a loud caw. Once nearly defeated, now has come back with razor-sharp talons and a deadly peck. So that's going to be the eagle from Journey to Skobel, Williador, right?
I think that's
pretty easy to figure. Yeah. Right? Grant, you agree with that?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, right? Because mission...
That can be either... people have been, like, dying to get some eagle hero. Like, they don't care who it is.
Right.
Whether it's Gwahir or Willador or any of the unique ones we have now.
It could be here.
Yeah, but there wasn't a mission to save him, unless it's talking about the history of Middle-earth where people were saving the eagles at one point, right?
Yeah, I think Willador and being a playable hero or a playable ally at the least.
Right. Okay, so now this is the one that has everybody up in arms. A group of people have come from afar, 4 heroes, but one of them a star, whose light had recently been ignited. From the game start, a hero knighted, but these heroes walked alone upon the road with no one else to carry the load.
That to me sounds like Spirit Aragorn.
It does, because from the game start there was no hobbits in the box, in the core box.
No heroes. No, there was like an ally. There was Wandering Took.
Keen-eyed Took.
Wandering Took.
Right.
Keen-eyed Took came later in the cycle.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it says from a hero knighted. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was leadership. Aragorn was the one out of the core.
But it also says 4 heroes.
Right, and there's 3 now.
Right. So, right.
Star meaning spirit.
Right, so if there's 3 and then this is the 4th one, I think somebody was also taking this and thinking that this may have been like a Grey Company contract, where you can play the game with 4 heroes but no allies.
It's possible.
Oh, that's also...
So, but I don't think that the rest of it matches. But it says these heroes walked alone upon the road with no one else to carry the load. So, so maybe it references a Grey like, who was in the Grey Company? I don't know the lore that well. I guess I should know that.
I know that Elod and Elrohir were in it.
Okay.
That's as far as my knowledge goes.
Okay. I guess, Grant, your job, buddy.
Off the top of my head, because I haven't read that part of I haven't delved recently into that part of the book, I kind of think off the top of my head. Been a long week. But, Elladan and Elrohir and most of the Dunedain were part of the Grey Company.
I'm looking it up right now. Let's see. Elladan Elrohir the Grey Company was led by Halbarad and the twin sons
Oh,
Eladon
that's
and
right.
Elrohir.
I made a Great Company deck, which was the Elf Twins and Halbarad.
Oh, okay. And so they
Which
traveled
works
to the north
surprisingly well,
seeking
actually.
Aragorn. And they Arwen made the banner. And then they accompanied Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli through the Paths of the Dead and went with them to fight at Pelargir. So, okay. But that does, so a Grey Company, I guess, is technically Halbarad, Eladon, and Elrohir. And would it be Aragorn or not Aragorn? I don't know.
It's hard to say which way to go with it.
Yeah, that one I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well. Okay, let's keep moving along here.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I don't know. Okay, so then it says, a son of a father who died at the gate and a dwarf whose ancestors shared the same fate. Yet strong and capable, he swings his axe while he continues milling players' decks. Though already used by members in an alternative form, this hero comes to help players battle the storm. So that, I think, refers to Thorin Stonehelm.
Yeah, he's already been released.
Yeah, so I think that's because it's the son of a father who died at the gate, and so that's how Thorin died. So, okay, would wear a ring with total disregard and acts as though he is an encounter card. His songs heard from afar through the forest and down, and wights flee when they hear the sound. Yet merry is he and his wife as well. Older than time, among trees and rivers they dwell. So that's Tom Bombadil, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then the last one is just...
There's two more?
Oh, I thought the last one... Yeah, maybe. Okay. I thought the last one was just like I'm done now. But that's fine. Okay, to the west I saw a creature with elven ear, singing songs to hobbits and all that would hear. Though the songs of gulls he did fear, he has an ability not common in the sphere, released in a product that already did appear to those with a friend this time last year. So that's got to be Gildor and Glorian, right?
Yeah, not Gildor.
Right, Gildor, who is good. Okay, and then the last one. From sleep I was woken by a sound of many footsteps from underground, grim-faced yet determined the walk, and behind them ghosts and phantoms stalked. They vanished into darkness under the mountain's door, and after that I saw nothing more. So maybe that's the reference to the Grey Company, right?
It would certainly make sense.
Where they went to the Paths of the Dead?
Yeah.
I don't know, because that seems to not refer to a... I don't know. That's the most vague one. From sleep I was woken by a sound of many footsteps from underground. Grim-faced, yet determined. I assume that means they walked.
Yeah, it says the walked, but I think they mean they.
And behind them ghosts and phantoms stalked. I don't know. That one's the most... Because it doesn't seem to refer to a character, right? It seems to be referring to a thing. Right?
Maybe it's an event or an attachment that they're preluding to.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, maybe this is where Thorndir becomes... Not Thorndir. Thordir becomes an ally or a hero. Remember the ghost from the Angmar Awakened cycle?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's wild. Anybody else? Oh, what's Lorth Iriel? I'm reading the comments now.
Oh, I see people have mentioned that in the comments.
All right.
I'm not familiar. Oh, Lothariel's married Eomer, King of Rohan.
Okay.
In the token year of 3021.
Okay. So the War of the Ring happened in 3019. So
Lothariel was a princess of Dol Amroth in Middle Earth, daughter of Prince Imrahil, and later Queen of Rohan.
So is that going to be... Is that a... Some people were thinking about these...
Oh, because you know what? Dol Amroth is near
Is
the
the-
sea, and it's
it's
in like... It's near Gondor. It's like part of Gondor.
Right. And so are these the Outlands? Is this like forgotten, disregarded folk? Is that the Outlands deck? Because
It could
people don't
be.
play it anymore?
Oh, from
Like-
her husband across the mountains riding in a sea of green. Her husband would be Eomer riding.
Yeah,
So that also fits.
Right.
it's definitely possible.
See,
It's
this-
obscure. It's an obscure way to go, but it's definitely possible.
A daughter to a father with an ability. It says you can fetch allies. So, I mean, Tactics Imrahil fetches allies from his deck.
Yeah.
So maybe she does something similar, but maybe she can fetch Outlands off the gate or something like that.
Right. I don't know. Do you think
Or-
Outlands needs to become more powerful? Is that...
Well, it depends. If she marries Eomer, maybe she gets traded as Rohan, and then she does something with Rohan instead
Could be.
and fetches Rohan.
But Herluin... Yeah, and what...
It would be nice to see them revisit the Outlands.
Yeah, I wish there was more Outlands attachment. I don't know. They don't need much in the way of buffing, so I don't know. It'd
No,
be
maybe
interesting to
not
see
buff-
what they
Maybe
what they
not
come up
Buffett,
with.
but maybe another hero for Outlands, because there's only really 1.5.
1.5 if you count
Yeah,
Imrahil.
Imrahil with his title card.
Yeah, with the Prince of Dol Amroth. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
interesting.
Yeah, somebody said Spirit Sam hero.
That wouldn't be bad.
Oh my god. For which one? In a dream? No. I don't know. Anyways, well, that's super interesting. Now we can
Yeah.
spend. I guess we could spend a lot of time talking about this, but
Infinite amount of time.
I know, right? Like making conjecture. I guess one of the only reasons why we can spend a lot of time doing this is because it seems like July and August people were hung over from summer and Gen Con, and there hasn't been a lot of... Warden of Arnor hasn't published much. Rolling Intentions hasn't done some of our old faithfuls. Now, I will say that Three's Company, to kind of change subjects here, as we go from Reddit to some of the other things, Three's Company has been publishing once a month, and that's good. They have some really good content. I haven't gotten the latest one. They're at episode 6 of their podcast, but I have listened to the other ones, and apparently, if you want to give Mr. Underhill, Ryan Kelly, a hard time, just tell him you love Merland. And then he apparently he has a love-hate relationship with Merland, and that's kind of interesting. So I don't know. Cardboard of the Rings, they celebrated their 150th episode. So, hey, guys at Cardboard of the Rings, both first age and second age, congratulations on that. 150
Congrats.
episodes.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of episodes for them. And they've been doing it from even before the game was released. Brandon and Andrew. Brandrew, I called them. For the first few episodes there. They were releasing episodes before the game was even released. So congratulations to you guys. And that episode 150 was a huge extravaganza. There was people all over the place helping, doing stuff. They gave away a ton of prizes. So good job for all you guys. And so what else do we have? That's a question for you guys.
There's
Yeah.
there's not been much. I mean, Vision of the Plenty has posted out a few articles from the There and Back Again set. They've done Flight from Moria and was one of the latest ones, along with a synopsis. I believe it's a synopsis of the Desert Crossing, and they've also done a one on deck building for the 3 trials.
The 3 trials is such an interesting and unique, right? Unique scenario.
Yeah, and then for other blogs, the White Tower has issued the first part of the Ancient Matham's Shadows of Mirkwood cycle on his blog,
which we're going to upload to our channel too. So if you want to revisit some of these old cards that and join Grant and Samuel, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to do. A lot of time and effort's gone into trying to make the best decisions for these cards, and it's sometimes not been easy to get the right balance for them.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go back when you have 8, almost 9 years of card pool to worry about. You know, Test of Will should definitely have been increased to 3 cost. But who can predict that this game was going to be out this long? Yeah, so keep an eye out for Ancient Matham's, both on the White Tower blog and on our YouTube channel. And so yeah, I mean, it seems like the past couple of months have been real slow with all this stuff going on. I hope that September and October are a little nicer for us with content, because I don't know, just I hope that people get back on the horse here. So Will Lentz, the last thing that we'll talk about is Will Lentz, who has done a couple. He does a couple podcasts, and he does 11Zs, which is interesting because he has a short form podcast where he only lets the podcast go for 11 minutes. So that's interesting. But he or a team is organizing an event called Conflict at the Castle, which is a Game of Thrones and LOTR event. So on his website, Conflict at the Castle, it says that conflictatthecastle.com, it says that it's the U.S. Game of Thrones National Grand Championship. I don't know what that means because I don't do competitive gamings like this, but that's okay. And then it's also got the LOTR gathering that's gonna happen, and it happens at a big castle in Missouri, so Pythian Castle. So it's kind of an interesting venue to do this. So
yeah, it sounds like an awesome venue.
Yeah. So Will Lentz does also the White Book podcast. So he has a couple of different podcasts that are out there. I remember Will in the White Book because in the first stage of COTR, Brandon would always call it the White Pages and not the White Book. So, and so no offense there, Will. Your LOTR content is top notch, and we're actually excited to see this coming up. So, so I don't know. So we'll see what happens for this. It looks to be primarily a Game of Thrones event, but it looks like LOTR is on the side. So. So do we have anything else to add, or should we finish off this kind of droning on episode of Community Tales?
Well, we covered some good stuff, right? We covered the very strange Reddit spoilers, and talked about Card Talk a bit. We also reviewed thoughts on net decking from us as well. And a little bit on the Ancient Matham's project by Grant and Samuel.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So, okay, well, if there's nothing else to go, let's cut it here, and everybody join us next month as we take a trip around the community and look at what everybody's creating. Have a great day. And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, feel free to search YouTube where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed cardtalk2018.libsyn.org for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.